Welcome back to Lightcraft Academy. Our topic today is focus. Bokeh. We did have an earlier video about the concept of bokeh. I want to revisit this because I've gotten a few emails about how you can replicate this. Now, if you were using the Jetset Cine version of the app where the iPhone is used for tracking, but you're actually using a pro-level Cine camera, you could achieve depth of field in real time. We can, however, mimic it. I don't want to use the word fake because we can create some really realistic looking depth of field. And my workflow, and I move around because I'm trying to simulate what it would be like to have somebody behind the camera. You don't get the true parallax, but at least we have some fluidity, some movement. But my workflow is that I create typically 3 images. I create one for the wide shots. So here we have a very modern looking office. Fully in focus for that wide shot. But I do want to go in, I want to push in for a close shot. And I'll explain this and show you in a second what my workflow is. By the way, you can do this for free in Canva. I use Photoshop. You can do this for free in Canva. But we're going to create 2 versions of this. One will be blurry. I think Photoshop defaults to like 30% blur. The second one, I'm going to add some depth of field. We're going to use a depth map. You can also do this in Canva, as I said earlier, where you have degrees of focus and non-focus in the shot. We're going to kind of get a feel for what you think of that. So let me jump now to a semi-blurry, semi-focus shot, or mostly out of focus shot, and a tight shot, and then we'll try the depth of field. So I'll be right back. I'm back, and so I've done a couple of things. I've moved myself closer to the camera lens. I've also used our amazing pinch and zoom feature to stretch the image out, adjust my floor level, move the image up and down so that it looks rather in proportion. A medium shot. This is the background here is uniformly blurry. You don't really get the depth of field. It might work really well even closer, but here's an example of pre-producing a blurred version. Let's move now to the depth of field shot and see what that does. And so now we have the variable depth of field. The chair, this conference chair, appears relatively close to me in terms of distance from the lens, and so logically that would be in focus. And as we move deeper into the conference room, the chairs and the wood paneling become more and more out of focus. I will defer to how you feel about this use of depth of field, but it is my workflow. I'm going to show you how I do it now in Photoshop, but I do typically make 3 versions: totally in focus, semi-blurry, and then one I add an AI depth of field. And again, you can do this in Photoshop and Canva. So let me walk you through my workflow. The workflow is fairly straightforward. I bring the original sharp 4K image into Photoshop and apply the Gaussian blur effect. To add some depth of field to the image, I employ Photoshop's Neural Filters option by selecting the Depth Blur plugin. This is where you can experiment with varying the focal point and the amount of depth blur. You can do this in Canva. Remember that Canva is free for students and teachers, and the focus feature in Canva is called autofocus. I've settled upon this level of depth blur in Photoshop, and this image simply gets exported as a JPEG. And so we're back here in our Lightcraft Academy conference room. Thank you as always for watching. I will be out with a new video just in a couple days. Some of what I'm doing this fall is geared toward teachers. So many of you have emailed and said you're ready to really jump into Jetset, that we began this later in the year. You're ready to start your year off. I'll be up in Alaska in a few weeks. Shout out to the students up in Kotlik. We'll be doing some rich production in your village on the Yukon River. As I always plead to you, please subscribe. And we'll see you back here in just a few days. Thanks for watching.